I don't believe in magic, but I do believe in bones. Well, I believe in some magic. Skeletons get 3 times their intelligence as magicka, after all, and they can devour the life of others. And they can summon a friend to help them out, of course. I have a skeleton, you have a skeleton, J-Red here also has a skeleton. But because he is a skeleton, the skeleton he has is another skeleton. It would be weird if a skeleton was inside the initial skeleton. Being dead, we're quite resistant to frost and shock. We were likely a Nord when we were alive, but we're also immune to poison and disease, so maybe Dad was an Argonian vampire. That would also explain the water breathing. That 100% weakness to fire, though, we must have some high elf lineage coursing through our veins. Marrow. So, the plan, as an expert boner, is to scour Vvardenfell in search of bones and bone-related items. We want to get at least one of each. I'm sure I won't overlook a single one. You've got bone mold armor and all its cosmetic variants. You've got Nordic trollbone gear. You got regular bones like skulls, bone meal, which is just regular bones but in meal form. Wouldn't recommend eating it though. That's not an exhaustive list, but it gives you the basic idea. Now, you're probably not familiar with skeletal culture, but there's a strong compulsion to... basically skeletons believe it's improper to use non-bone items if they can help it. A lot of skeletons find themselves in places where bone items aren't available, so they have to resort to using rusted iron shields and corroded battle axes. For those that do travel the world, and are able to find more appropriate gear, they almost always avoid purchasing it. 'Tis far better to collect it from a tomb or a fallen adventurer, they believe, or to steal it. This is just a contrived way of saying we have to collect the bone mold gear from the world rather than just buying it. That would be really easy. Skeletons start out with awful attributes and no skill bonuses. Being dead might come with some interesting spells and resistances, but we're still just bones at the end of the day. Not very strong, not very agile, and certainly not very charismatic. Doesn't matter if we're always smiling, we're gonna unsettle some people. Our first stop is Balmora, as is usually the case, but rather than robbing the place blind, instead we'll stop by just briefly to grab potions from the Mages and Fighters Guild. And then we're gonna head to Vvardenfell's most iconic tomb, the Andrano Ancestral Tomb, just outside Pelagiad. Since we're weaponless, and this tomb doesn't have any weapons we're interested in, we'll be relying on Devour, absorb 10 to 20 points of health on touch, and Tony, our skeleton companion. He's quite effective, mostly because skeletons, including NPC skeletons, have stupidly high skill levels. It makes up for their low attributes. Ever wonder why skelly archers are sniper accurate? This one has a marksman level of 90. We, however, do not get those bonuses. An easily forgettable item in our bone grocery list is bone meal, but it's in just about every urn in every ancestral tomb, so even if you forget to pick it up, there's always somewhere nearby with it in stock. Damn it, I'm already dead. How can you assassinate? Okay. We may have killed him in a tomb, but that doesn't mean his gear is tomb or bone related, so we're leaving it. We've got 2 items to collect in here, 3 if you count the bone meal. The skull of Levuel Andrano, a unique skull that's just lying out for the taking, and over in this chest is the first of many pieces of bone mold, a native Gajulan bone mold helm. The bone mold armor set does appear again in Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC, and it looks fantastic, but it's not medium armor, because medium armor was removed in Oblivion.
Outlander.
Sad times. As the story goes, the first time bone mold armor was ever crafted was when a horde of cannibal Nords besieged the stronghold of one Arslik Oan. With no clean drinking water, because the Nords had poisoned the stronghold's abutting stream, Arslik ordered a contingent of his slaves to charge out of the main gates and rush for a clean part of the stream just so they could collect a tiny bit to drink. Of course, they all died immediately and were eaten. So Arslik tasked his slave blacksmith, Gorklith, oh, what a mess of consonants that was, tasked him to collect all the metal within the fort and craft several sets of heavy armor. But this made the second company of slaves too slow, and they too were killed by the cannibals and eaten. Arslik then commanded Gorklith to make lighter armor using the skins of his poisoned livestock and dead slaves. With this new armor, the third company of slaves managed to make it to the river and collect several jugs of water, but they were killed on the way back and eaten. Finally, with few materials left to work with, Gorklith fashioned the skinless remains of his fellow slaves into a sturdy armor that weighed somewhere between that of leather and iron. Of the 18 slaves sent out wearing that armor, only 1 returned with water. Proof of concept. Bone mold was made. The story ends with Gorklith and Arslik boneless and folded up like cheap t-shirts, but that's not important. I didn't make this up. It's in the book Bone Part 1 and Bone Part 2, okay? The guy's name is actually Arslik. Another fun tomb item we can pick up is back towards Seyda-Neen. Seeing how important Devour life was in the Andrano Ancestral Tomb, I figured we'd bolster our intelligence a bit. We may not have a brain, but that don't mean we can't be smart. At the end of the Samaris Ancestral Tomb is a trapped urn containing the Mentor's Ring. Whoops. Second try. Oh, just barely survived. So the Mentor's Ring boosts our intelligence and willpower by 10 points each. But there's also another interesting item in here. The Ashes of Lord Bryn. This item is a reference to a regular on the Elder Scrolls forums who passed away during Morrowind's development. It's not explicitly bone-related, but I think any reasonable skeleton would understand. Into the collection it goes. At the end of the day, we're supposed to be a skelly archer. We don't want to spend too much time not skelly archering, so we gotta find ourselves a bow. There's the bone mold bow, a fine option, but I have another idea. We're also gonna need arrows. Unfortunately, bone arrows are few and far between in Morrowind. Most skellies use iron or steel, either enchanted or unenchanted. This means our only option for getting a steady supply of bone arrows is from merchants. It's a shame, I know, a damn shame, but skelly culture is as understanding as it is spooky scary. Our skelly ancestors will understand, just as we would understand our skelly descendants. Bone mold arrows. We buy a skeleton. Skeletons are natural tricksters. They're the physical representations of the Fae, if you weren't aware. But unlike the Fae, they don't despise metal because, after all, skeletons are made out of metal. They are calcium. Calcium is a metal. All this is to say, they're quite fond of swiping things from mortals, which is why we're here in Nagrand. The trek to collect our bow will be a long one, and we'll need a set of armor to keep us safe. The guard towers in Nagrand are full of bone mold, most of which is just sitting in crates, or on crates, unused and forgotten. Look at all this. Boots, cuirass, greaves, bracers, pauldrons, 2 different kinds of shields. And this here is a garden variety bone mold helm, and this is a Godulan cuirass to go with the Godulan helm we got earlier. We will need to find a place to store all this extra armor though. It may be medium armor, but it's still pretty heavy. Our strength is only 40. Skeletons are all skin and bones, except for the skin part. Leaving Nagrand to the east, past these silly bandits who should know better, we arrive in Foyada Banidad. Following it along its length would drop us on the northern coast of Vardenfell, not too far west from the Urshulaku Ashlander camp. But if we instead follow the first diverging path out of the Foyada, we'll land within the Ashlands south of Falis Marion. A bit further west, and then east because I overshot our destination, is the Urshulaku Burial Caverns. Within these caverns is a bone-related item, a bone-related bow. We wind our way to the end of the Urshulaku Burial Caverns and retrieve the Bonebiter bow of Sul Senepool from the Wraith of Sul Senepool, Father of Sulmatul Ashcan of the Urshulaku Ashlanders. He's tanky for a dead guy. Good job, Tony. And here it is, the Bonebiter bow of Sul Senepool. It's technically a unique chitin bow, but it's got bone in the name, and we are in a tomb, so normally you just bring this to Sulmatul, Ashcan of the Urshulaku Ashlanders, and move on with the main quest. You're unlikely to ever actually use it. But I did actually use it during a stream once, and it's not that bad. Damage agility 20 points on target is permanent. Unless the victim has a spell or potion to restore their agility, it ain't going back to normal. Hit an enemy with this spell 5 times, and they'll definitely have 0 agility, at which point they're liable to get knocked down by every single attack you hit them with. Or just about at least. You'll see. I trust you noticed the master lockpick in my inventory. We're not far enough into the video for you to have fallen asleep yet. I had purchased it the first time we were in Balmora from Neleno Dwarven in the Hlalu Manor. There is a more thematic lockpick though. We just need a regular lockpick to get it. But before getting that lockpick, we use this lockpick to crack open the Hlalu Manor and drop off our loot at the First National Bank of Raylan Hlalu. He's a corpse that never despawns. A great place to store your crap. However, I am quite upset that he died face down. It's uncanny. I've never seen him dead like this, and it is weird. Anyway, we've got a Master Thief to kill. He's no pushover, so we need to prepare. We pop over to the Mages Guild in Sadrith Mora and buy Summon Greater Bonewalker from Uleni Hlaren. Greater Bonewalkers love damaging strength. With 0 strength, enemies cannot move, and that's fantastic for an archer. Our target is Gentleman Jim Stacy, leader of the Thieves Guild. He's holed up in Simony Freylene's bookshop in the Foreign Quarter Canal Works of Vivek. Only a skilled thief may meet with Jim Stacy, or anyone with enough patience and a moderate familiarity with security. To keep Crazy Legs Arantamo from joining the fray, we're going to trigger combat with Jim Stacy by taunting him, thereby making him the aggressor. Because we're in tight quarters and can't kite Jim effectively, we'll need our Greater Bonewalker to lock him down. Obviously, Tony will be here helping too. Oh, Boneboy is tanking for us. Damn it. I'll never understand what makes an NPC want to attack me over my summons. I think it's because I'm easier to hit, but he didn't realize I was in combat until I pelted him with the Bonebiter bow's magic.
Say what you want.
Nice. Got him pinned down. Why are my dudes fighting each other? Notice how he keeps falling over? That's the power of the Bonebiter bow, Soul Centipole, Father, Swim to Lash Cannon. But if they're not able to move, why does it matter if you can knock them down? Ah, you see, a knockdown enemy is much less evasive, and they take increased damage. 50% more, in fact. Don't sleep on damage agility. Done and done. Tony. What are you doing? Stop! Duplicitous creatures, these skeletons. You must have a bone to pick with me. Okay, let's be quick. A Daedric short sword, which we can just sell, and the skeleton key, which we'll be using for all locks going forward. It's the best lockpick in the game, with a quality of 5, nearly 4 times better than a master lockpick, and it comes with 50 uses rather than 25. But even if it was garbage, we'd still have to get it. It's the skeleton key. It's our birthright. And now that we have the skeleton key, it only seems right to go to a tomb with locks that need picking. South of Dagonfell, past Sorkfield's Tower, is the Senum Ancestral Tomb, and the main reason we got the skeleton key. There's a level 50 lock door standing between us and our quarry, and using a master lockpick just wouldn't feel right. Just ignore the other 2 times I used the master lockpick. At the end of this tomb, we find the corpse of Popjay. He's wearing a native Godjulan bone mold helm, an item already in our collection, but also a pair of armor-on pauldrons, one of the best looking pauldrons in the game if you ask me. On the corpse itself, in its loot window, is the Bone from Popjay, an item similar to the ashes of Lord Bryn. Popjay is a reference to the late father of Bethesda developer Gary Noonan. And like Lord Bryn, he's got a fancy ring in his possession, the Ring of Finister. Resist poison, shock, and magicka 20% each. The poison resistance is a bit redundant for a skeleton, but it's better than nothing. Our next destination is Aldredania. Not a tomb per se, but it's an ancient Velothi ruin full of ghosts and skeletons. So it's basically a tomb. Getting there will take a minute though, because we're walking very slowly due to how much stuff we're carrying. That said, this visit should do a bit to remedy that issue. It ain't a Morrowind run until we drink from the bitter cup. There's a bone item there too, so we're multitasking. Oh, that was easy. What item is it we seek in this tower? Well, we go into the sunken underbelly, kill the ghosts, grab the key from atop this crate, and crack open the submerged chest. Inside, we find a Nordic trollbone shield. There aren't many trollbone items in Morrowind. The entire set is only 3 items. Shield, helm, and cuirass. But they got bone in the name, so we gotta get it. Upstairs is the bitter cup, but it's guarded by a really scary skeleton war wizard wielding the vampiric ring. We don't want to mess with none of that, so instead of fighting, we rush for the cup and teleport out before we get sucked. Now that we're safely in Nissus, we unequip the Mentor's Ring, making our strength our highest attribute, and drink deep from the bitter cup. Our strength goes up by 20, and our personality drops by 20. Who needs personality when you're a dastardly skeleton? Back in Balmora, we drop off the superfluous pieces of our collection, and ponder the loot next in our pursuit. Oh, there's a bone mold bolt in Raylan's inventory now. Yeah, I bought that from Aradrayan in Vivek, the merchant with all those overpowered enchanted bolts and arrows. I considered buying her enchanted bone mold arrows, but that would feel like a shortcut. Only skeletons that use iron arrows need to bolster their pitiful existence with enchantments. Speaking of enchantments, let's get an enchanted cuirass. The Modoc Grotto is a sunken dungeon not too far southwest of Ebonheart. It takes some time to get there, since we're a skeleton what can't swim too good, but it's excellent exercise, cardio, and resistance training. I don't think I have to be the one to tell you this, but skeletons aren't known for their strong hearts and rippling muscles. Within the grotto is the Lost Dwemer checkpoint, Mudan. If you explore this place thoroughly enough, you would eventually find the dead adventurer Pikachu. Not modded, by the way. That's actually in the game. Pikachu has the key for the central vault, but with the skeleton key, we don't need the actual key. So Pikachu's skelly corpse can remain at rest. What? Oh, it's because we have no fatigue. Yeah, the skeleton key still uses the standard lockpicking formula, and no fatigue means a 25% reduction in effectiveness, so it can fail. In the central vault, we've got a Dwarven Centurion. It's pretty tanky, but so is Tony. He takes the brunt of the attacks while we Bonebite the Centurion's agility down to 0. We may be weak, but we're persistent, damn it. The Centurion drops the key to the level 100 locked closet in the corner of the room, and within we find the Dragon Bone Cuirass, a piece of heavy armor with a 100% fire resistance enchantment. Wearing it eliminates our 100% fire weakness, so now we just take regular damage from fire. It's a shame the Dragon Bone Cuirass doesn't really match any of the bone mold, but I do know where we can get a helmet that goes better with these pauldrons, at the very least. You would think the Redoran lands would be where you would find most of the bone mold variants, but the Telvanni are known to leave the stuff lying around as well. Tel Naga is the easiest Telvanni tower to get to, so we pop out of Wolverine Hall and levitate up to the top of the mushroom. Master Nelith shouldn't mind us rummaging through his crates. The Armon-On bone mold helm, unsurprisingly, matches the Armon-On pauldrons quite well, so we return to Rylan Halalo and drop off our old helmet. I also got some duplicates by accident, so we'll just chuck them on the floor. And before I forget to mention this, I swung by a few spell vendors and bought more bone-related summons. Lesser Bone Walker, Skeleton Minion, Bone Lord. Typical Skelly stuff. We're unlikely to summon anything besides the Greater Bone Walker. And Tony, but that goes without saying. Back in Sadrith Mora, we head northeast, for another ancestral tomb rattles our bones. It calls to us. Come to the burial grounds of family Hlervi, it says. At once, we reply. Ah, it's full of ghosts and a Bone Walker. Hey. Where is it? I sense bones, but not skelly bones. Aha! It's up there. A Nordic Trollbone Cuirass. A fine addition to my collection. General Grievous is skeleton-coated, right? Our next destination is the Sandus Ancestral Tomb, which sits on the Ashen border southwest of the Grazelands. The Grazelands can seem dangerous, because enemies here can spawn with an increased scale modifier, making them look much bigger. But don't let their size intimidate you. They're just simple wildlife.
Your life's end is approaching.
So the Sandus Ancestral Tomb. Undead fill these halls, as expected, and there's also a random-ass scamp here too. Not sure why. It must have been trying to stop us from claiming the native Chuse Bone Mold helm. I can't say it looks better than the Armon-On Bone Mold helmet, but it certainly gives it a run for its money. Sadly, there are no Chuse pauldrons to go with the helm, so we can never get a matching set. You know, Tamriel Rebuilt adds a ton of different styles of bone mold. Every set has its own unique flair, without feeling horribly out of place. It still feels like Morrowind. Maybe with a few more polygons, but the general spirit remains. It's great. Honestly, Morrowind is worth getting into, just because there's like 2 more Morrowinds worth of content across Project Tamriel and Tamriel Rebuilt. You get more Morrowind per Morrowind. Enough fawning. We've got a special item to get. As I said earlier, there's only 3 different pieces in the Nordic Trollbone armor set. We already have the shield and the cuirass, and the helm is available in several places, including Melbourne's shop in Balmora, but there's a unique version of it that fits the theme of this run more adequately. We're going to get that instead. A lot of the enchanted items in Morrowind are just regular items with different names. For instance, the Bonebiter Bow of Soul Centipool that we got from the Wraith of Soul Centipool, Father of Soul Centipool, is just a chitin bow with a special effect and a fancy name. Likewise, the Bloodworm Helm is a Nordic Trollbone helm with a special effect. The catch is, we need to pry it from the corpse of Crazy Batau, a necromancer who resides within the Marin Ancestral Tomb.
You're growing. You're bested.
Alright, he's a bit tougher than I expected, even with Tony and Boney giving me a hand. See, the Bloodworm Helm not only summons a skeletal minion, but it also turns undead within 20 feet. So every time he casts it, everything goes all chaotic, and I can't tell which skelly is which. But once we're able to hit him with 5 helpings of the Bonebiter Bow's bone-biting effect, it's easy to kite him while Boney depletes his strength. Unable to move, it's only a matter of time before he's dead. Nice going, fellas. Should have come here sooner. He's got a full set of bone mold, including variant pieces. What a fool I am. We'll take one of these skulls too. I know we have Levuel and Drano's skull back in the bank, but you know what they say. 2 heads is better than 1. That makes perfect sense in this context. We're closing in on our ultimate goal, becoming the strongest bone hoarder in the land, but we're still missing a few pieces of bone mold. For starters, the 3 different house shield styles. Redoran, Hlaalu, and Telvanni all have unique bone mold shields. Are they buyable? Probably, but that is not the Skelly way. We gotta kill some guards. First up, Redoran. Guards can be a bit tricky to kill, so we'll employ the same strategy against them that we did against Gentleman Jim Stacy. Taunt him into attacking us and claim self-defense. You never want to find yourself in a fair fight. 3v1. Easy work. This one didn't have a shield. Does have a pair of God-Drilling pauldrons, though. These are my favorite bone mold pauldrons. In the base game, that is. Tamriel Rebuilt has bigger, goofier pauldrons, and I'm a filthy World of Warcraft mark, so there's nothing I love more than impractical shoulder armor. So we could do a better job at scoping out the guards and see which one actually has a shield, but I think there's actually a tomb outside of Aldrun that has one of the Redoran house shields. Let's get the other 2 house shields first, and then check on that tomb. Kill a guard in Balmora for his shield, and kill a guard in Sadrith Mora for his shield. These bone mold shields are kinda boring. The Redoran one is better. You'll see. On our way over the Ghost Fence, we stop by the Fatterthrum Ancestral Tomb. My marrow tells me there's bone mold within these walls. And sure enough, we find a dead Redoran, right by the fire, keeping warm while he naps. As you can see, the Redoran shield is much more interesting. The Hlaalu and Telvanni shields just look like shields. But the Redoran shield has these little gaps that make it more aerodynamic. I can't imagine a shield with holes being terribly effective or practical, but I've seen sillier looking stuff that was actually historical, so maybe there's a logical reason for it. The first time I saw half swording and the murder strike, I thought the artist was just an idiot. That's not how you hold a sword, dummy. Little did I know it's an effective way of turning your sword into a kind of mace. Bash him with the hilt. Crack open that helmet. Still looks dumb as hell though. Carrying on over the Ghost Fence, we meander through the ash storms until we arrive at Terranulal, Kagranak's library. There's a single book here we need, and getting to it is a bit dangerous. Bone Part 2 by Tavi Dromio. We already talked about the contents of this book. Part 2 is when people get folded in half. But where is Part 1? Ah, back where it all began. West of Sedanin, in the slaver cavern of Aharunardis. We take out the jobbers at the front door, confront the leader Yatur Groshak, kill him, and claim Bone Part 1. Why is it here? No idea. It's a medium armor skill book, and works like medium armor, I don't know. The final bone item awaits us in the Savile Ancestral Tomb, east of Molagmar. A bone mold longbow. A touch anticlimactic, admittedly, but I went into this with only a list, not a plan. Ah, the bow. Lovely. We return to the first bank of Raylan Hollow and drop everything off. With this much osseous power in one room, the completion of the ritual will soon be at hand. Yeah, so this is a bit of a different video. I got some things keeping me busy in real life, but I didn't want to not upload in January, so I did something a little more manageable. I have quite a bit of footage recorded though, so there's going to be some longer things in the near future, once real life settles down a bit. Pretty exciting stuff though, if it all works out.